Welcome to the Bear Collective. Larissa's
Welcome.
just shown me something wild. And really,
Yeah,
really actually I'm disturbed by it. We also showed my husband and he was very
had a
reactive.
very visceral reaction. And he couldn't finish watching it.
No, no.
And it's something that just came up in somehow. Don't
Don't
judge me.
your algorithm?
Yeah. I
No.
tell you what, like, to be honest, like between like my personal account and like
Yes.
our podcast account has the best algorithm stuff. And I'm like, if
So
these
bizarre.
phones are actually listening to what we talk about,
Mm.
how is it feeding through one thing on one side and the same app, just a different name between my business and our podcast be so different?
Well, it's also about your followers and what they like and
Oh,
who
is
you
it?
follow and what they like. Yes. So
Got
it
some kinky
brings
followers
it
then.
brings them into the mix.
I'm like, I
That's a
don't know.
great point. Who is
Isn't
following
it?
this podcast or who is following your
Really?
personal account? Which one was it that you
I
found this?
think it was more on
No, it's all of the
like what
above.
we post about, like
That
what the
too.
phone like hears us talk
That
about.
too, but also
It's
who follows us and who we follow.
uh,
Mm.
why like follow like 20 people?
Who knows where this has come from? Raise your hand if it's you.
Yes, I'd like to know. Please drop out of my followers so my algorithm changes. This was, I find, yeah, I would agree, very disturbing and
Yes.
very polarizing.
Yes.
And I had a strong visceral reaction to it.
Mm.
And so I had to show you just to see whether
My
you
reaction.
were, yeah,
She's
like
testing me.
whether, whether our values aligned.
And
No,
also
but
whether it was just you, right? Like so often
yeah.
we think to ourselves, oh, is it just me that feels this way?
Yeah, is this just my belief or my
Mm.
perception? Is there a side to this? And I sit in curiosity, is there a side to this that I'm not seeing?
Mm.
Because there are always three sides,
Mm.
your side, their side, and a side that we can't see.
Yes. Let's
So
go from our side though
yeah. I mean,
today.
this is our podcast.
Yes.
So
And we do actually have an opinion on this based off our visceral
yeah.
reactions.
So what the video was about was an Australian female who has joined the whole OnlyFans movement. So this is kind of about that OnlyFans movement
Mm.
that has gone into and I actually don't know her name, but she slept with or had some form of intercourse
She called
with,
it railed, might I
yeah,
just put here, which
with,
also gave me a huge reaction, but
yeah,
that's a whole nother
with
story.
over 580 or so plus men in 6 hours. And I know that she's not the only one who's done this. I know of a girl named Lily Phillips who's done this in the UK. I'm aware of a name of Bonnie Blue who's doing this as well, where they're going for these world records of sleeping with 1,000 men in a certain period of time, like,
Mm.
a 24-hour or less type duration.
Mm.
And I just really have a problem with it.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And let's talk about why,
Mm.
because there are many layers.
There are so many levels to it.
Yes.
The first, if we will try and take this like one layer at a time,
Good
because we're
luck.
going to dive right in.
But I'm still so like what when I
It's the
think
visceral.
about
Let's go to the visceral reaction.
yes.
So,
Yes. And it might come across judgy too, but also like there's a reason why. Like my response to that, like it can come across
correct.
judgmental. I'm okay with that in this
In
context.
this context, so am I.
And especially because of like the reasoning behind anyway, you'll
Yeah.
understand why.
By the end of the episode. Stay tuned. But let's start first with that visceral reaction.
Yes.
If you were to, like, again, in trying to understand why somebody would do this or put their body through that, that's where my body just closes, I get that ick, I have that visceral reaction
Yeah.
where I want to repel.
I've dried up just thinking about it.
Tight close for business.
Cross-legged, like, no, thank you.
No entry. And, you know, again, sticking to just the female side of, you don't know these 580 plus men. You don't know these 1,000 men. That I believe that it is so sacred intimacy that there is an energetic exchange that is happening when you're, you know, allowing someone to be in that intimate space with you.
Yes.
And I can't imagine that. I think we tried to like calculate time spent with each person in that context with 6 hours and like 580.
We did the
less
math.
than 2 minutes.
Yes.
Or something. So you're constantly having this energetic exchange with someone.
Merging. It's an energetic merging when you really think about it. And with the most, like when you think about the chakra and the chakra that is at that level, like there is an energy center in that region.
Correct.
That is coming like into contact.
Correct.
Making hand movements. No, I might stop.
You remember the Friends episode?
I do. And that has to have an impact on your energy body and on your physical body.
Yeah. If you talk about it from that energetic level, that is your region of creativity. It's your life force energy. It's also part of your safety. You cannot feel safe having that many men enter you in that amount of time.
No. And I will add, this Australian, she had a team of 12
people around her. Yeah.
All the men had like bags checked and etc.
But what about,
however,
like,
it's
health
the
checks.
It's yes.
And
I'm sure they would have maybe had to do something. However, you can't test every single person there on the day. And it's really just about, you know, the safety that your body would be feeling with that many other bodies entering you over that short a period of time. And some of them potentially forcefully, if at some point, or, you know, with support from like lubrication and condoms and whatever. However, at some point your body will be done. And I don't care how much. What was it that you said that she said about her kitty? Her kitty was okay. I don't know.
But then actually it's been reported that she has been bleeding since.
So to me, if there is any sort of chafing, even like any sort of abrasion, your body is going to start to, even if you're not consciously aware of it, because to me, you've got to be pretty shut off from your body to do this.
Can we go back to like Sex Ed 101?
Please.
If you feel safe, hugely important first off.
Calm.
Desired, and in that moment with that person, you will self-lubricate.
Yes. Yes. I'm guessing that's not happening after even 185.
Sorry, but how can you be self-lubricating for 6 hours?
Yeah.
You can't. And so when you're getting an external thing in, you're getting lubrication in, yes, that happens at times in relationships, but it's also an indication, again, just in this context, that the body is not safe.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And in an everyday relationship, you can take time, you can communicate that, you can do more foreplay. Like there are so many ways you can go with that.
Yeah.
You can say, no, I'm done now.
Yeah.
However, like in this scenario with 1 point whatever minutes per person, I can't see that happening. I could be really wrong, but I just can't see either someone isn't aware of their body's signals or they're blatantly ignoring them and pretending it's okay.
Yeah. And if one of those people gives you a traumatic experience within that as well, like maybe they're a bit too handsy, or they, you know, grip certain parts of your body too tightly. If they do something that you don't like, it's like straight on to the next person. So your body hasn't even had time to process like a mini trauma that's happened about something that you don't like. It hasn't had enough time to recoup to feel safe again.
So true.
Before somebody else's.
Before it's trying to analyze the next one, and if it feels okay,
So that's a very visceral reaction for us, where we believe that sex is sacred and it's a beautiful experience. And can I just say, the human body, the female body especially, is so beautiful and stunning, and it is very sensual. And I just find in today's world that we are over-sexualized and over-sexualizing, especially through this escape of OnlyFans.
Yeah, the overexposure.
It's kind of gone to that, I think, extreme end of the pendulum swim.
Yeah.
But also we want to talk about it from a psychological point of view after the fact. And one reference point that we have was that when we were young, we used to watch
Playboy Mansion.
You know, the girls of the Playboy Mansion, and that used to be, I don't know, this glamorized dress up kind of party scene that we used to think was, these girls used to be able to live in this mansion, and, you know, they were glamorized and had photo shoots, and, you know, they got taken out to dinner and they got taken care of and provided for, and it was all very glamorized. And I watched an interview recently. It is on the Him and Her podcast with Lauren Bostic, where she interviewed Kendra, who was one of Hugh Hefner's...
the sporty one, yes?
The sporty one. And she was the youngest of the three girlfriends. And she's been married, divorced, she's got 2 kids, and there's a part of her that looks back that she's had to process the trauma from that experience, where she was questioning. There's a reason to her story. I highly recommend listening to that episode, but there's a reason to her story of why she chose that, and it kind of seems for her like it was the only option. But it's, even when sometimes it's felt like the only option, she's looking back on it now going, what was I thinking, being like that 18, 19, 20 years old, sleeping with an 80-year-old man? She does not feel okay about it. And what's kind of sad to see, which it's an observable thing from me, I don't know the truth of her story, but with that interview, she did turn up hungover. And if you look at, you know, her identity and her persona on that show, and again, it's a show, so we don't know her in person and how she is now, she looks like she's still going through it.
Yeah.
And maybe leaning into some coping mechanisms that aren't healthy.
Yeah, so the bigger question is, like, what are the repercussions on the individual choosing to do this right now for them later in life?
Yeah.
And there is evidence that it can be not great. And I would guess more often than not, it won't be for these like quick attention grabbing clickbait type attention seeking influencers.
Yeah.
I'm sure it might be different for people who have become those more elite porn stars who pick and choose. They get paid, you know, crazy amounts of money.
But there's also a time limit on that.
Always. Yes.
You know, like they say in Hollywood with actors and
age
actresses.
Does not grace. Yeah. There's no grace for age.
Again, it's that thinking about it long term. And I think that's the place, again, here where we're coming from, is just having more of a conscious thought about it, because I think in today's world it can seem like a quick money grab. And it has gone from initially where OnlyFans started out as kind of like, you know, just some nude pictures or some pictures in lingerie where they're just showing certain things and parts, to how can I make more money? How can I up that level? Like, how can I up the ante? What is that top creator doing? Okay, how can I go above that to draw more attention to get more money in?
Yeah. And the more people that start going in the running for something like the most, you know, number of guys that they've slept with in a 24-hour period, like the more people that go for that, the more of this is normalized. And this is where the impact gets really scary for me is potential normalization of using our bodies in this way and doing this to our soul in this way.
And something I want to bring up that we were speaking to, and I'm just trying to find it, is we spoke to, I think, and I'm not sure 100%, but I think these girls are quite young. They're in their 20s. And your brain, your emotional capacity isn't fully formed for actually being able to know that kind of long-term, impact.
Oh, if I go off my 20s alone, I mean, you're just starting to figure out who you are outside of the family unit. You're just starting to find your adult brain and your adult self. You really don't know yourself that well at that age, unless this is not generalized, this is not everyone, because there are people who, depending on what they've been through, do tend to know themselves and are very wise beyond their years. However, the majority are not. They're not emotionally developed at that age.
So I question kind of like the reason that they've kind of gone into it. Because I cannot understand what they're, apart from like attention, money, what are they getting out of it? Where do they draw the line in the sand? Where does this end? Like, where does it
Is there a limit?
Stop? Yeah.
Is there a limit? Because from what I saw on that video of this Australian girl, it didn't seem like there was a limit. She was just going for it. And then at the end, she said, how many was it? And they were like, 585. And she was like, like she had no idea how many it was. She was just like, go, 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 go. Essentially. So it's not even that conscious awareness of what is happening.
Yeah.
And then there was a quote that was said.
You'd be disassociated in that state as a way to protect yourself.
You would have to.
Which is not healthy.
Yeah. And they're like that, at the end she sort of says, that was the best day, with not a very expressive facial expression. And so, to me, there's also the question of, was it? Yeah. Was it really the best day? And if that's the best day, what are we normalizing the best day as within society?
Yeah.
And I have a son, and this is where it gets really uncomfortable for me, is thinking about the men that have lined up to do this and have like seen one another lining up, especially that last guy, like that 580 whatever guy, and be, I am terrified if this is the male of the future. And I know it's not, because like, my husband's reaction tells me it's not. However, if we continue to normalize this, if this sort of behavior and standard for women continues, what is that going to do to the standard of men and the future of men and how they view women?
Yeah. And how they believe they can treat you.
Yes. And they
their expectation of you.
That's right. And I'm terrified. I'm going to have to sit down at some point because of this. I'm going to have to sit down at some point and say to my son, P.S., this is happening and this is not normal and this is not how I want you to ever, like, this isn't the normality I want you to accept for the world.
Yeah.
And if people don't want their sons to think this is okay, they're going to have to sit down and have those conversations too, because it's on the internet. It's out there. Yeah. It's there forever.
I think it also, yes, definitely as a parent with children or child, having that conversation is going to be something that comes up in the future, because this is a big, OnlyFans has been around for a couple of years now, like since pandemic time. This is over 5 years. I don't see it going away anytime soon. the pendulum is shifting a little bit in both sides, like a lot of this extreme going to trying to break all these records, and instead of it being just about kind of like nudity and pictures, it is going down that pornographic side, and it is more like just so accessible. Like when you look at a phone and you're in someone, like you're in that search thing. Why do I call it a search thing? It's just a little magnifying glass. What is it?
I don't know. I call it my favorite page because the rabbit hole
that you didn't pick. Your favorite page that you didn't pick. It was picked for you.
Yes. Mine's all like travel and, babies doing funny things, and, it's very PG.
My YouTube one is like that.
Yes. Who is it?
Yeah.
Who is it on the feed? Anyway.
So this now. But I think I believe how we can shift this now as women is by holding a standard when you are in a relationship, and also most importantly when you are dating. I think how sexually available you make yourself and how sexually you or essentially you present yourself early on eludes and triggers the male brain. Like I said, the female body is beautiful, stunning, amazing, should be adored, admired, and ravished in the right time and the right scenario with people or person.
Yeah, that you feel really safe with. Yes.
Yeah. Or, like, for example, in the context of, like, if you're a salsa dancer and you're in a gorgeous fitted dress and you're out, moving your body, that's a way to also be adored in a very sensual display of movement with the body. So it's, I'm kind of talking about it in a holistic way like that, but it's being self-aware as to, are you trying to come off as too physically attractive, and it's leading to sex very early on in a relationship, and then as the female, male and female brains are very, very different. Women get very attached early on, emotionally connected, wanting more. We start fantasizing. We, in the first couple of dates, are imagining if their surname is a good match for our first name. Like, could I see myself with this surname and being married to that person? It just happens that is part of the female brain to fantasize, is this person going to be a protector? Are they going to save? Are they going to take care of me? So you can hold a standard which will help shape the male response by having boundaries, by having rules, by valuing yourself at a high level, by having self-worth to know what is acceptable and what's not.
Yeah, and it's important to do that for the future, for women and for men.
Yeah, for your fellow sisters who are out there.
Yes.
As well in the dating pool.
Yes.
If you make it so easy for men, then they jump to the next woman and think that that's what they can expect as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I really just believe that we can make that change, because if we raise the standard, men will come to that standard.
Yeah.
They will. You raise the standard, people will follow. That's why there are leaders in this world. Be a leader in your life, and we can have more of a societal, cultural shift and change. But we need to kind of band together in doing that.
Yeah, to bring this pendulum back towards the center a little bit, because I'm all for realistic pornography.
Yeah.
The unrealistic pornography of the past is also setting bad standards and bad expectations for men in terms of, what women want in the bedroom and what they are willing to accept in the bedroom. And so I am and I think OnlyFans really could be about that. Unfortunately, it's just that it's gone to this extreme point that it's become an actual danger to society, in my opinion. And that's because I'm feeling like there is serious danger to my son's psyche right now, and I'm getting like mama bear protective about it.
Yeah.
But like, it's frustrating. And there's other things that are frustrating in the world that we have to train our kids and educate our kids on. But this is one of them.
Yeah, I agree. I just think, yeah, change can be made, and I also just worry about, again, thinking long term. I think there's a lot of hedonism in our world today because everything's just so accessible, and people are realizing more people are becoming millionaires, more people are making big money because they're going down very quick and easy paths without thinking about the long-term impact to their relationships, the future perception of them. You know, I can remember in this interview with Kendra, who was in the Playboy Mansion, where she's now a real estate agent.
Oh, what?
And, you know, so she gets recognized, and the perception is still of her in that way. When
As a Playboy bunny.
Correct. When she's trying to be a different identity. And she's not necessarily being received in that way. When those people recognize.
Yeah, my brain is just jumping that there would be these men that would be like, oh, I'll hire her. And like, you know, that's some sort of sick twisted fantasy about.
Yeah. There's an undertone of something else as the intention behind it. You know, and when you have kids, like, we're now in the world where photos, videos, all that stuff, your words that you write are going to stay online forever.
Yes.
Like, so your children, the future humans in your life and generations to come will be able to see this stuff. And how you can't not traumatize your kid in some way. There will always be some sort of trauma. As best of a parent as you can try to be, you will have some impact on your child that is negative. But again, what are you choosing?
Yeah, it's about how you hold them through that. You can't stop them from facing trauma, but it's about how you hold them through that.
Yeah. And thinking about the choices of, if you are somebody who does want family, who does want children, what do you want for them? And how are you role modeling?
What are you leaving on the internet for them?
Yeah. That's the title of this episode. What are you leaving on the internet for them?
Yes.
Yeah.
The era of OnlyFans and the extreme side of the dark side of OnlyFans.
Yeah. And I know, like, it's such a trigger for people, right? Because if you see your partner following these kinds of people, I know so many people who get triggered by it, myself included.
That would be a deal breaker for me, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I want someone's energy going that way?
Yes. And this is why as women, we need to band together and change the standard.
Yeah.
So that's not okay.
Yeah.
Don't let that be okay.
And it's in some of those subtle shifts that I've, spoken to, that we can make that change. And if we are all doing it as a collective, then, we really can start to make a movement and a change in that way and make the world, I think, a better place in that aspect. And I'm not, again, as you said, there's a place for pornography.
Yes.
We're talking about the oversaturation of it and the overexposure.
And the clickbait culture of it, I think.
Yeah. And just thinking about it, the long-term impacts, like, really sit with that. The long-term impacts and dynamics that will play out.
Absolutely. There's a bit of the tea, guys.
Bit of a different episode from us. One where we're both still sitting here feeling really repelled. We might have to go shake it off.
Thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing. We hope you enjoyed this take.
And we will see you all next week. Help us get to 100 subscribers. We really would appreciate it.
If we're not there already by the time this airs, like, tell everyone you know just to do it. Like, just create a YouTube or Spotify account and do it.
We've got to get this movement happening. So we need people to hear this message for sure. So. Bye.